Welcome into Mississippi State Live here on the Voice of College Football. Andrew Miller joined by Christian Ballard here on a Thursday night. Back with you to talk about Mississippi State, Texas a little bit more in detail. We will get into our keys to victory for the Bulldogs, and if we just have any other thoughts on the game, we will certainly hit those. Going to make our picks for the week. Christian was able to expand his lead back out over me after I'd sort of closed the gap after last week, so we'll see if I can make that race a little bit closer here again as we're starting to get into November towards the end of the season. And it is our weekly call-in show. So if anybody's interested in joining in the stream and chatting about the Bulldogs, you're more than welcome to do so. We have a link to the stream attached, both pinned to the top of the comments in the live chat, also in the description of the video. And that's something that click on the stream, just keep the camera off, and we'll bring you in, and then you can come and be a part of the action. Talk about the Bulldogs, talk about SEC football, talk about whatever your heart desires, as long as it's Mississippi State or SEC football related. That's kind of the only guidelines we will go by there. If you could, for those of you tuning in, give us a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if not already. We are at 99, so we are one away from hitting 100 subscribers. It'd be really cool if we can hit that goal tonight. Make sure you turn that notification bell on so you do know when we do go live. And if you could share the stream, share the channel, tell friends about us, tell the Bulldogs you see out there about us. We would greatly appreciate it. Christian, how's it going?
It's going good, man. We got a good game with Texas this week. Obviously, this isn't the Texas team we've seen in recent years. It's kind of fell off a little bit, but they're still trying to make it something special this season. And obviously, Mississippi State bouncing back from 2-10 last year, looking to push for a bowl game this year. Got to feel really excited with where the Bulldogs are at. And with that, we also have a question already in the comments. What's up, Trey Clark? He says, "Is stopping Texas punt return game the key to Saturday?" What do you think?
Yeah, this is one of the I was, as you were talking, I saw the question, so I was literally looking up because I've paid no attention to Texas punt return game this year. I do a bad job of forgetting that is a third phase of the game. That is a thing that matters. You can win or lose games with special teams, which is something Mississippi State fans do know. But yeah, Texas has been really good. Ryan Niblett, as a punt returner this season, averages over 25 yards of return and did have a punt return touchdown against Oklahoma, which was a key play in that game. Had some long returns against Kentucky, which was sort of important for them considering their offense did nothing. So for a Texas team that has been so terrible offensively, it certainly, that is something to look to. State's not really giving up any big returns, just kick it out of bounds. Yeah, like that's kind of a smart approach. I hadn't even considered that. That is something that matters. And, I was listening to some Texas guys today sort of breaking down the game. And, one of them mentioned, winning with defense and special teams is kind of being a key for the Longhorns. And I guess I see why they bring up special teams for sure, which, look, special teams have been pretty good for State. I will say this, that is become a little bit interesting because, Ethan Pulliam is sort of fully taken over as the punt now, with the exception of when they are near midfield and they're trying to just pin the defense back. Then they sort of go with Nate Tice. But Pulliam, if they're in the open field, they put Pulliam out there because he can just bomb it. The problem there, if you're going to just bomb it, there's always the chance you outkick your coverage. Now, luckily, State's got some fast guys on the team. That's a big thing that they've recruited. And Trey points out 45 yards of punt return last week, the only offense they had. For sure. Like that is a thing that this Texas team, and I'm glad, Trey, you brought that up because, again, we weren't even going to talk about that. That's certainly an important key here. We talk about this game. That's going to be something State has to watch. You cannot give up the hidden yards in that area. Like, you have to win the special teams battle, and that's certainly something we want to get into. I guess with that, we can start just getting into our keys right away. And, Christian, I'll turn it over to you first. I mean, is there anything that you're looking at as a big key in this game that you think is important for the Bulldogs if they're going to be able to pull off the upset on Saturday?
Yeah, I think defense is going to be the big thing. I know the offense has struggled for Texas, but they have some key guys. Obviously, we know about Arch Manning. Um, he's looked not phenomenal, not great, but he's still looked like a really good quarterback that I think has a bright future in the NFL and everything. You got to obviously stop him and what he wants to do downfield. I don't know, man. I think the key to the game is just going to be containing Arch Manning because even though he's had his mistakes, he's thrown 5 picks. He's got 13 sacks. Dude, he has 13 sacks and 12 passing touchdowns. The thing about Arch Manning is, though, he's still thrown for over 1,000 yards. He can rip the thing downfield and complete those certain passes that he needs to complete. Their lead receiver, Ryan Wingo. So really just containing the offense, but especially keeping Arch Manning on the bench, but also just put him on the ground. Like I said, he's taken 13 sacks. That offensive line has not impressed me. So I think if I had to sum it up and give you a key to the game, I think our defensive front for Mississippi State has to get after the quarterback.
I think that leads into one of my keys. So it plays in well that I think you can't let Texas get their run game going. And
Right.
this is a Texas team that, as you mentioned, there's been so many issues for them this year. The passing game sort of being the big thing overall. That one, Arch has not been nearly as sharp as he was expected to be coming into the year. He's had just a lot of those young player mistakes. There's times he is missing by a mile with wide open guys. There's times he's just not seeing it. Times where he's forcing the ball when he doesn't need to. It's not been a good campaign for Arch Manning here to start off in his first full year as a starter. Doesn't mean he was a bust. Doesn't mean he's not going to be able to live up to those expectations eventually, because he's certainly not being put in a position to succeed given the pieces around him. As you talked about, the offensive line is bad. They're very bad in pass protection, but they're also really bad when it comes to blocking the run. That has been an issue for them throughout the season. They don't have the superstars at receiver that I think they were hoping a few of these guys. You mentioned Ryan Wingo, and then you look at Parker Livingstone, DeAndre Moore. You have Jack Andrews at tight end, guys that I think they brought in and were expecting to be better players than they've been so far. It's not a situation where Arch can just sort of go out and play game manager and be in a good position to succeed. He's having a lot has been put on his shoulders, and you're kind of seeing why he wasn't fully ready for that spot. I say all that to say, even though they've not been good at run blocking, on the few situations where they have been able to block the run a little bit and get that part of their game going, that's been huge for their offense. Against Oklahoma, Quintravian Wisner and Arch Manning were both factors with their legs in that game, and that helped Texas a lot in getting their offense going. You go back to week 1 against Ohio State, I think you look at the 7 points on the scoreboard and think just horrific day for the Texas offense. It was – Texas more than doubled Ohio State in yardage, or I think they did. I mean, they had 3 drives get deep into Ohio State territory, but they failed to convert on a 4th down. And if you look in that game, again, Quinn Wisner, Arch Manning, they were running the football effectively. And Wisner is going to be the lead guy for Texas in this game. So because of Texas's issues with the offensive line and when it comes to protection and with their receiving core and with Manning just not being all that sharp, Texas really has not been able to sit back and be a drop-back pass team and have a lot of success. They've kind of done it once this year in the second half against Florida, playing from behind. It was too little too late. And the only times they've really been able to stay ahead of the chains and stay consistent is if they've been able to get the run game going. Mississippi State's run defense is not great. They've had some issues with teams being able to run on them a little bit this year. They're not as bad as they were a season ago, but they've given up some rushing yards. So if you're State, you really have to take that away. Do not let Texas get that going. And I think that'll be a big thing. Did you have another key you wanted to hit on? Or?
Yeah, I mean, just with the scoreboard, I mean, when you look at the losses, and I know it's only 2 for Texas, I want to kind of point something out here, but you look at the loss to Ohio State, not a bad team to lose to. 14-7, it was week 1, whatever, shake it off. They look good the next couple weeks. But that loss to Florida, you had briefly mentioned it there, but you basically, I mean, you have to hold their offense a lot. And you're also not going to be able to score probably more than 28, 29 points like Florida did. This is a Texas defense that's going to give up touchdowns at times, but they're also going to hold you, play Texas Hold'em. And but you got to have an elite like just solid defensive game to take out Arch Manning. And I think that's going to be a key for Mississippi State. I go to the back to the defensive side of the ball here. I like some of the guys that we've had step up. I really do. I like um I, I mean, you could talk about Brian Lanier at safety, who has 3 interceptions. Believe he leads the team uh, for most by any player. We have 10 interceptions on the year defensively. That's really good. Turnovers are going to be a big key too. So you got to shut them down. You can't let Arch have a big day. But here's the thing, Andrew. Mississippi State's got the guys to do it. They got the Isaac Smiths. They got Jerron Manning. They got Nick Mitchell. I mentioned Brian Lanier, who has 3 interceptions. He's got 2 passes defended. A couple guys like him have at least 1 sack. So, you know, I don't know. What's your take on some of that I just kind of wrapped up on? Because, I mean, if you could just contain Arch, I mean, you basically take away their offense.
To an extent. I mean, look, Quinn Wisner has been a pretty consistent player for them. I don't think he's the most incredible player in the country, but he's been solid. They may get C.J. Baxter back in this game, another running back who's been a good player for them in the past. Now, to be fair, he's been dealing with a lot of injuries over the past couple of years now, including this season, so he's probably not going to play a huge role. I don't think – I mentioned the receiving core. Those guys don't necessarily jump off the page. I do think – at their best, like Ryan Wingo can be, like he's that big body outside receiver. Like he can be a threat. So like I think he will challenge a Kelly Jones and a Diego Brumfield in this game. Arch has shown the ability to attack some downfield. It's just they've not consistently been able to do it. And a lot of that comes back to their pass rush and or handling pass rush. That's the thing for State as well. They've got to be able to find pressure in this game than they've had in the other. Like This is kind of one of those games where you look at it and say, if Mississippi State's not getting pressure on Arch Manning in this game, they're just not getting pressure really against anyone the rest of the season. Which I go back to the game against Tennessee, and obviously a different style of offense and a much, much better offense. But Tennessee's offensive line has kind of quietly been a little bit up and down this year. And State, I think they only got Aguilar to the ground twice in that game, but they got a lot of pressure on him. And they were able to disrupt some of his throws. And that is something with Arch where if you get pressure and disrupt him, he can have some issues. So I think State does have to generate pressure. And if you do that, look, if you're able to get pressure and you're not letting Texas get the run game going with any sort of consistency, this will be a nail-biter type game. I do think that'll be the case. But those are the things that have to happen. Another big key for me, and this goes over to the offensive side of the ball, State's got to be able to finish drives in the end zone. So Texas defensively is probably going to play a bit of a bend, don't break style. One of the big keys there is that Michael Taff, who is one of their top defenders at safety, he's out for this game. So, and Florida kind of already showed, it's the only time it's really happened, but against Florida, the Gators attacked downfield against Texas. They were sort of the only team that's been able to do it this year because a lot of teams have not been able to protect it. But Florida hit some big passing plays down the field against the Longhorns. And so there is a deal where if you can protect a little bit and you have the talent at receiver, which we know Mississippi State does. Now, can Mississippi State protect? That's another story. But State's got receivers who can get deep. With Texas is a little bit susceptible there. And now we're talking about one of their best defenders in the secondary is out. Potentially, you've got the ability to attack downfield. But I think Texas is obviously going to be wary of that. And I could see them saying, we're going to play a lot more conservative in coverage. And if that means we play with a light box and give up some of the run game, that's fine. And that's kind of what Texas did a year ago. For those who watched Mississippi State, Texas last season, State ran the ball pretty well with its running backs. Devon Booth and really Johnny Daniels especially, like they had really good games on the ground against Texas. Part of that was because Texas was kind of letting them have it. But even though State ran the football pretty well in that game, they weren't able to turn drives into touchdowns. Twice they had to settle for field goals, including off of a blocked punt. They were in Texas territory and ended up having to settle for a field goal. Had a long drive go with a field goal. Opened the game up with a long drive, and they fail on a fourth down. And obviously you get the one touchdown drive there in like the fourth quarter. But State had several drives get near midfield, get into Texas territory, and just stall out. You can't do that in this game. If Texas is going to play bend, don't break, and say, look, we're not going to give up the quick strike plays. We're going to force you to have to drive the length of the field, which, given State's propensity to get in their own way and make mistakes that prove costly, yeah, making them have to run as many plays as possible to score is probably a smart thing to do. I think that's kind of a smart approach against State regardless. Don't give up the quick strike, even though Blake Shapen's been missing those quick strike plays down the field. Don't even give up the chance for them to hit those. Make them have to drive the length of the field. I think Texas is going to do a lot of that. If you're State, you've got to turn that into touchdowns. Now, that could be tough without Fluff Bothwell. He is questionable for this game. I think most are thinking it's probably going to be another week before we see him. But we'll see. If Bothwell's able to go, that helps you out quite a bit in being able to get that run game going. But the big thing for State when it comes to offense is, like, you've got to turn – if you're able to move the football, it has to get into the end zone. This can't be a case of, well, we drove down the field, but we had to kick a field goal. Or we drove down the field, but we went for it on fourth down, crucial sack in a bad moment, turnover. That stuff can't happen.
No, I mean, like you said, man, you got to attack early too. Like, I mean, if you're going to have a drive that stalls out in a punt, maybe just go ahead and get it out the way. Because I feel like Texas has that defense that's just going to get better as the game goes along. But I don't know. Like, to your point, though, you need to be consistent on each drive, not with like, oh, pass, run, or anything weird like that. But points are going to be a big factor in this game. I know obviously we look at football and say, well, you got to score to win. Yeah, but when I say that, I'm talking Mississippi State has to hang with Texas's defense, because even though it hasn't looked like it for Texas and Arch Manning, there's still a pretty solid unit that's going to find ways to score on Mississippi State. So I would just say that. But yeah.
Points are going to be at a premium in this game for sure. And that kind of gets into what my final key is. When you have an opportunity, and this builds off of the first point of, like, when you have a long drive, it's got to turn into a touchdown. When you have a chance to put points on the board and you're in a clear position, or you've got a shot open downfield, or you've got a run that has a chance to break big, you have to hit on it. That game against Florida, I don't think I've ever seen State miss so many chances at touchdowns where they had guys open and either Shapen didn't hit him or Shapen didn't see him. And it wasn't even just Shapen. There was also, a run on – that was like the second drive of the game where right after Shapen first missed Brennan Thompson for a should-have-been touchdown, State calls a run to Xavier Gayden. It is blocked up perfectly. And if Gayden sees the lane that is right in front of him, he has a chance to take that up the middle of the field and score. Instead, he tries to squeeze between a couple of offensive linemen, and it's a 2-yard gain. And, like, this is not me just saying it, like, after the fact, like, I know what's supposed to happen. Like, no, Jeff Lebby said this at his press conference. Like, we had a touchdown blocked up, and Gayden didn't see it. And that's one of those, like, okay, you kind of understand why he hasn't maybe seen the field as much. You might have to see the field in this game because we don't know if you're going to have Bothwell back. And I know it really turned into the Devon Booth show last week, and he can carry that load, but you can't only go with that one player. When you have an opportunity to put points on the board, whatever it may be, whether it means you've driven down the field and you're in the red zone, whether it means we've dialed up a shot and it is there, or we've called a run and we've got it blocked, whatever, you got to capitalize. Because as Christian was talking about, points are at a premium in this game. Texas's defense is too good to think that they're going to give you a lot of those opportunities. Florida's defense is also good, but Florida's defense, with all the injuries they had in the secondary, and I also just think their feeling in that game and the vibe around that program, State had plenty of chances to score against Florida and failed to do so. Texas, you're going to get a couple chances, realistically. You've got to convert. You've got to take advantage of those opportunities, and that's going to be the big thing for Mississippi State to be able to get the win. Any other thoughts?
Not really in particular. I mean, just looking forward to this game. I think there's going to be a lot of. I think well. Let me ask you this: how's the build up in Starkville this week actually leading up to this game? Like, I mean, I'm sure it being at home for the Bulldogs. I mean, they're 0-3 in SEC play. They've had 3 straight losses. I mean, they're not giving up just yet. I mean, they know that this might be. Look, I'm gonna be honest. They should have won that Tennessee game, and they should have won against Florida. Now, Tennessee, I think, is a pretty interesting team this year. Florida, I'm not sold on at all whatsoever. Bye bye, Billy Napier. But I mean, does it feel like with this game, like if you don't get an SEC win here against a vulnerable Texas, like do you scrap this season up? Like, what do you do?
There's a little bit of that vibe. Um, I definitely think a lot of people recognize this Texas team is not that good. They are still
Right.
talented. They still have an outstanding defense, and if they could find any semblance of offense, they would have a chance to. They would have a chance in almost every game they play the rest of the way, except for Georgia. That's probably going to be the one where there's no shot. And I know A&M is also looking really good, but that game's in Austin, and also it's Texas A&M versus Texas, which means A&M loses most of the time. I'm going to pick like spoiler. I will pick the Aggies to beat the Longhorns when we make that pick in rivalry weekend, but.
Yeah.
No, that would be the most Texas A&M thing ever to go into that game feeling like we're going to wrap this thing up and win, and then Texas somehow finds a way to win because that's just what A&M does to Texas. So the Longhorns have the ability to be a better team, but at this point, you kind of are who you are, and they're a team that offensively is simply not good. And they're a team that even against lesser competition can find ways to lose the game. They should have lost the game to Kentucky. They did find ways to lose the game to Kentucky. It was Kentucky just ultimately just missed out when it was all said and done. So you recognize you're going to have an opportunity. It's homecoming in Starkville. They're breaking out the maroon interlocking helmets, and everybody's losing their minds. Brandon Walker from Barstool is going to be in town. Shout out to B-Walk. Um, I do think there is still, for as much as people are still ticked off over the end of the Florida game and acknowledge that that was a huge wasted chance and a game that, frankly, is going to be held against Jeff Levy until this team finds a conference win. And frankly, if they don't go to a bowl game, that game is going to really be held against him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be a packed out crowd. I think there's still a whole lot of tickets available. They're kind of doing a late push to try to get more fans in attendance. I think had you beaten Florida, no doubt you would have seen a great crowd in Starkville. I think this is one where it might be it's going to be a fine crowd, but I'd imagine there's going to be plenty of open seats. I do still think, though, there is a group of the fan base and a lot of the fans who are looking at this as like a last push. Like, okay, we're getting this game at home. It's a big-time opponent, but it's also a team that we think we can beat because they are not good. Can we get this done at home? But there's pressure, and I don't know if there's necessarily confidence in any of it. There's a recognition, though, that this game is pretty dang important because of what you have left on the schedule.
And how far you've come so far. I mean, that Arizona State win. I mean, you say whatever you want to about the Sun Devils this year. I don't even know what their record is currently, but they're not the playoff team they were last year. But it still kind of set the tone, and they just kept winning and winning, and then now they're in conference play, and Mississippi State obviously falling off and taking some losses a little. But you got to set the tone here and try to come away with some victories.
Certainly. No, I think a lot of people would look at this game right now and say this is your best chance at a win. And that includes Arkansas because that game is on the road and with as good as the Hogs have been offensively to this point. We got Sven back for the first time in a few weeks. We'll bring him in.
Yeah. What's
How's
up,
it going?
Sven?
Hail State, guys.
Hail State.
Hail State.
Um, you know, I'm not really pissed about the Florida game.
Okay.
all what we want was progress. We knew we don't win 8 or 9 games, but we were two plays away to be a 6-1 team, and that's what I call progress. Huh?
It's certainly
And
progress. Sure.
last year's team wouldn't have been anywhere close at 2 and what they finished
last
2 and
year's
10.
team,
So
what would they lose at Southern Miss? They get blown out by Levitt in Arizona State.
yeah,
We beat Alcorn. We beat uh,
NIU.
Northern Illinois, and then 8 losses in a row.
yeah.
2-10. Fact. We do, I mean, Southern Miss. This quarterback is a good one. He was really good. I mean, and last year's team wouldn't beat Southern Miss. And I mean, I have us winning the Texas game by multiple scores because, I mean, I saw the Kentucky game, Texas, Kentucky. Kentucky has doubled amount of rush yards, the doubled amount of passing yards. And I mean, Kentucky is bad. I mean, we are bad. We are a bad football team, but Kentucky is really bad. I mean, they are down bad. dumpster bad. So, and we don't need Fluff Buswell to beat these guys. What we need is a Blake Shapen who gets his shit together and don't overthrows Brennan Thompson 3 times. Otherwise, we would have beat Florida by 3 touchdowns. He was 3 times wide open, and he's the fastest guy on the planet in college ball. There's nobody even close to him who runs a 10-1 over the 100 meters. He was wide open, and Shapen overthrows him 3 times. And that was the ball game. It was not Levy's decision to throw a ball in the last 20 seconds or whatever. It was simply Blake Shapen couldn't connect with his wide receivers. That cost us the game. The defense was good. The offense was good outside of these free throws. And it doesn't mean that Shapen had a bad game. He had a good game. But if you play on the road in the SEC, you better get your shit together, otherwise you lose. It's simple as that.
You can't waste those opportunities on the road. Certainly not.
Yeah.
And if State hits those throws early in the game, Florida, I think, would have just checked out, and you end up
we blow them out.
Yeah.
It's simple. So, and the problem why I was not 2 weeks here, you made your call-in shows at 9 p.m. and that's around 3 or 4 a.m. here.
I think we did it late a couple times. We've
yeah.
and,
I mean, today I was on Millis. You know Millis Ballard, huh?
Yep. I know Mills.
I did the coin flip show with him and helped out because his original picker went out and I had to help out and I did it. And the coins spoke against Mississippi State. The coins picked 3 times Texas and 1 time Mississippi State. But anyway, I think Levy is on a good way. He made a mistake. He will learn from it. He will never do it again. But one thing we have to do, and this is absolute critical for the future of Mississippi State and Jeff Levy. Zach Sermon, after the season, has to get to his head coach and tell him, bring an offensive coordinator in. You can't be head coach and play caller in one person. It never works. Never.
Lane Kiffin. Dan Mullen pretty well.
He worked with Gus, too. Remember Gus Malzahn calling plays at Auburn?
Okay. Dan Mullen, had he to deal with portal, with NIL?
I think I hear you. I do think it's a little bit different. Look, there was still a lot. Look, Mullen wasn't recruiting either way. Let's be completely honest. But I do think there's a point to be had, though. Like, you can have in this era a GM who handles a lot of that stuff for you.
Mm-hmm.
Levy is our head coach, and we have so many construction points and issues to handle on this team and with this team. We are in rebuild. So, and we are not Ohio State or Alabama or an LSU who opens the pocket, takes 50 million out there, and buys a new team. We can't do this. We have to do it over development and getting the right players in the right places. And this is the head coach. I mean, bring in a play caller who Levy knows, and let him play the calls and the offense. Levy can tell him, okay, I want to run this and this offense. So, and he will find the guy. But it's too many stuff on the plate. There is not a single coach in the last 20 years who won a championship who not has had a defensive and an offensive coordinator. No Saban, no Ryan Day, no Kirby Smart, no Dabo Sweeney. Even Lane Kiffin has an offensive coordinator.
Well,
and he called his plays for 100 years.
I know it's within the past 20 years, though, you do have Jimbo Fisher. And I know that you can look at that as an outlier. But he was calling that offense. Where I would counter, and I don't think you'll disagree with this, but I think if you're talking about a national champion, a program that is realistically in championship contention and recruits at that type of a level, I hear the argument of, like, when it comes to the roster construction, why I mean, I still don't buy into it a ton. I do think you can manage to call plays. And I also think it's funny. I was listening to this discussed from some of the Texas guys the other day, because obviously this is a big conversation with Steve Sarkisian. And there's a point to be had that as much as people talk about, you have these coaches that quote unquote are not play callers, that you kind of think they're probably calling a lot of the plays in key moments. They're just kind of not saying that they are. Like, I think guys like Lane have a lot more say, that even though he does have a Charlie Weiss there and did have Jeff Lebby before. Yeah. I think, Kiffin has a lot of override. I think a guy like Ryan Day, even after bringing in Chip Kelly, I think I think by the time the playoff rolled around, Ryan Day, I think, got pretty involved in what they were doing.
Of course, Andrew, of course. Yeah. I mean, for that point, he's the head coach and he has a headset. He can tell, hey, I don't like what you're doing. Let's run the ball or whatever. He's the head coach. He has the last saying.
For sure. And
I hear you. You are right. But these are proven programs. I mean, Ryan Day has 70 or 75 4 and 5 stars on his team. We have maybe 7 or 8 4 stars.
But Sven, what I would say to you is I think that's all the more reason to play caller as a coach. And here's why I say that. Because I think if you're not recruiting the highest level of players, it becomes, well, how can you utilize the guys that we do have? And do you trust you have a guy leading your program that can consistently get the most out of the players that you are able to bring to your roster? And that's where I do think there's value in having the play calling head coach, because he can look at, like, that was a big thing with Mullen for all those years, is you were able to get the players you had offensively, and you always trusted we have a head coach who's going to get the most out of those guys on the offensive side of the ball. And I think Levy, it's kind of the same way. I hear you, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot in today's world that you got to deal with when it comes to running a program. But I also look at it like, hey, Jeff Levy, like, the guy got a coaching job because of what he can do as an offensive play caller, and I don't want to take that away from him.
He's a good one. I mean, he's a first-time head coach. He makes mistakes. Kirby made mistakes. Saban made mistakes. And by the way, Mullen was lucky. He had all the time. He was at Mississippi State. He had Coach Turner and all these 5 stars on his defense, on his defensive line. I mean, Fletcher Cox, I don't have to name it. Chris Jones, you know the names. Jeffrey Simmons.
Right.
So, and Coach Turner was was at top in his prime. I mean, he's old and don't recruit at this level, but at his prime, he recruited top notch. And nobody want to see Mississippi State's defense. Nobody.
Oh, Mullen had great defenses for sure. It helped out a lot.
There's great teams. Okay, guys. And by the way, Mississippi State 41, Texas 20.
Who?
I would love that. You'd love to see that.
That'd be a lot of fun.
And last prediction before I go to bed, Steve Sarkisian will not be the Texas head coach in 2026, and he will not be fired. He will quit, and he will go to the NFL because he knows he has an absolute super boss as quarterback who gets paid $8.7 million a year for trying to play quarterback, and he will not get drafted. And he will be his quarterback in 26. And if Sarkisian stays, he will not be in the playoffs. He will lose five games or 6 games next year with the new schedule. He will go 6-6, at best 7-5, and this will ruin his college career. He will go NFL.
I would say I don't think it's completely out of the question that we see Sark make a run to the NFL. I don't know if it's this year, but I do think there's a real possibility we see him try to make that return.
I really believe. I mean, Sarkisian does not want Arch Manning as his quarterback next year. I really believe this. Because Arch Manning is at best a lower freestyle. He has nothing on his movement, on his throws. What shows me he's a 4 or 5 star. Nothing.
Yeah.
He's a below average college quarterback. And Texas is with him is in no way a playoff team. No way.
I think the offensive line's the bigger issue for them, but he's not played well. There's no doubt about it. And he certainly has had a role in some of their struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Thanks, Finn.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining in.
Ballard, you kick me out?
You're still here now, but we can kick you out if you want us to.
Okay.
All right. See you later.
See ya. Thanks, Finn. It's a good call. Always love hearing from him.
Yeah, glad to have him back in. It's great to have one of we've only got one regular. We've been a few weeks without him, so glad to have him back.
That's progress.
We'll try to get the stream more. I thought we had been going 7, but we did have a couple nights we went later, so we'll try to make sure we keep the time around 7 o'clock. That does tend to be the best time overall to do it. It's just every now and then run into some other things, so you know how that goes. If anybody else wants to join the stream, you do exactly what Sven did. You click the link, either pinned to the top of the live chat or there in the description of the video. Just have the camera turned off, and we'll bring you onto the stage and let you give us your thoughts on Mississippi State versus Texas, on the SEC, whatever it is you want to speak about when it comes to football. Let's get into making our picks for the week. And if you look back on last week, good week for Christian, 9-1 overall. Is that right? I think. No. Okay. 9-2. 8-2. Okay. I counted wrong. Sorry.
That's not bad.
It's still not bad, but let me double check, make sure I have. Okay. Yeah. So LSU Vanderbilt, I took the Tigers. You took Vandy. You were right there. Both took Oklahoma correctly. Both took A&M, a lot closer, but we were right. Both took Georgia. Both took Texas. We were lucky there. Both took Bama. Both of us took Missouri. We both went with USC, so we both took a loss there. I took Utah. You took BYU, so you had one there on me. We both took State. I made the mistake and went against my line of thinking that I thought Florida might just get that win. And, it went against me. So 6-4 week for me, 8-2 for Christian. Overall, he leads with a 54-26 record. That is a 3-game lead over me at 51-29. Another good week of games. Maybe not some of the same heavy hitters that we've had, but still some really good. I mean, we have 3 ranked matchups within the SEC, so that's as good as you can ask for. We got a big game in the American Conference. It's crucial for the playoff race. Some other conference contention races and some other power leagues. Should be a fun week of games. We'll start off with the top 10 matchup. Number 8, Ole Miss out in Norman against number 13, Oklahoma. Ole Miss coming off a crushing loss to Georgia where they were not fully in control of that game but had the lead. Looked like it was going to be back-to-back years, and then Georgia in the fourth quarter just dominates. Oklahoma sort of righted the ship against South Carolina. That could have been a big letdown spot. They didn't let it be. They go and handle business. Christian, where do you go?
Yeah, I had talked with a good friend of mine this morning on a show about this one. I don't remember if I let her pick on the pick'em or if I picked that one. I don't know. But the way I'm feeling right now, this game's in Norman, and it's not like it's in Norman at night. I do
11
like
a.m. kick.
both. Yep, 12 p.m., 11 a.m., whatever. 5.5 points.
We're in God's time over here, to be clear. Central time. And I always have to text you in Eastern because I know if I don't say that, we're going to be in base. But just know I feel wrong when I do that because Central time is God's time for what it's worth.
I got you. I lived in Alabama for 4 years, so I get it. So this is an offensive game waiting to happen. I don't know if both teams are going to hit like the 40s or whatever, but if I'm seeing like 35-31, it's almost a coin flip right now. I'm going to lean Oklahoma here for the moment. Put me down for Oklahoma. Maybe on the pick'em on ESPN, I'll change it back to Ole Miss or something. I don't know, but it's almost one of those games you don't want to mess with and just want to watch.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of points because
No?
Oklahoma defensively is really, really good.
They are.
Oklahoma offensively, not. They've not been very good this year. And while Ole Miss is not a very good defense, I don't trust Oklahoma to put a ton of points on the board. With literally just an ad coming up for that game, right as I talk about it. That being said, I do also go with the Sooners. I think Brent Venables' defense is going to be able to give a lot of problems to Ole Miss. I also think it's kind of a letdown spot for the Rebels, having to go on the road. It does help that it's an earlier kick and not a night game, but I still think going up against that defense, they can give some problems to Trinidad Chambliss. And then Ole Miss defensively, look, I don't think Oklahoma's going to have a breakthrough day on offense. The Sooners did figure out the run game a little bit against South Carolina. Ole Miss's run defense has not been good this season. I think the Sooners will be able to run the football a little bit and do just enough. Close game. I don't know if the Sooners cover. I think it's like a 5.5 point spread in favor of them. But I think this game is kind of in the 20s, and I will ultimately take Oklahoma to get it done. Trey Clark. We both clicked at the same time. 27-20, you going with the Sooners. I mean, I could definitely see a score like that. But yeah, I'll take OU as well.
Okay.
The Houston Nut Bowl between Auburn and Arkansas. And if you're wondering why it's the Houston Nut Bowl when it's not Arkansas versus Ole Miss, it's because Hugh Freeze is on the Auburn sideline. And these are two coaches in Bobby Petrino and Hugh Freeze that Houston Nut despises. Seeing as how Petrino took over for Nut at Arkansas, and then Hugh Freeze took over for Nut at Ole Miss. And both of them have had plenty of things to say about Houston Nut over the years. So he'll just be sitting back, I'm sure, just watching this one with steam coming out of his ears, hoping both teams can lose. Arkansas is a favorite against Auburn, and this feels like a game that if Hugh Freeze loses, I think he's done. Like, if they want to go to a bowl, they have to win this game. Meanwhile, Bobby Petrino, if he wins this ball game, the guy might just get the head coaching job. Like, the number of Arkansas fans that are suddenly like, you know what, we miss old Bobby P. We can forgive the Harley ride. We can forgive the lying. We can forgive how he's been a terrible head coach ever since he lost Lamar Jackson and the fact that he ruins every program he touches with his own disgusting culture. Bobby P can call some ball plays, though. They're probably going to find a way to try to hire him, and if he wins this game, I think it's going to happen. It's supposed to be nasty weather, by the way, in Fayetteville, like rain and a bunch of wind. This is going to be a fun game. Stupid, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, I was fixing to say real quick. You know how big of a game this is, though? It's so big, you can go on Vivid Seats and get a ticket as low as $11.
Well,
That's a
look,
fun fact right
let's
there.
be clear. It's nasty weather. Hunting season in Arkansas, I believe, is back in full swing. I know that's a whole thing.
Mhm.
And as much as people are behind by Petrino, I don't think they're behind him to the point of wanting to go and sit through this game.
Right.
Who do you think gets the win, though?
The paint. Uh, Auburn. I'm gonna go Auburn here. They need an SEC win. Arkansas needs one too. Dude, there's a lot of teams like Mississippi State, Arkansas, Auburn, Kentucky that are winless in the SEC, and we've played 3 or 4 weeks of it. But someone's going to get their first Southeastern Conference victory here. I want to go Auburn here in a close one. I don't know about a score, but I mean, it'll be close. I like Auburn more than I like Arkansas right now. Even though I do think it's going to be interesting with Petrino being on the sideline.
It's which side breaks or which side gives, because Arkansas has an incredible offense, but that defense is hot garbage.
Yeah.
Auburn has a really good defense with an offense that's hot garbage. So you have two half teams. Trey Clark bringing up rainy weather, Arkansas wins. Man, part of me wonders if the rainy weather favors Auburn with like the defense and being able to make some plays. And is this a game where Auburn is able to run the football some? Because look, if Auburn has to throw the ball, they're screwed. They can't do it. They have one of the best receiving corps in the country, and it doesn't matter because they have a quarterback who is incapable of throwing the football whatsoever. So
he can run it though, and
but
that's
the
the
thing.
thing is
And
they
can
got
they just
they
line
got a
up?
good running back, good running quarterback, and they have good receivers. But like you said, he's incapable of connecting.
Is this a game where because Arkansas's defense is so bad, Auburn can just sit back and run quarterback power with Jackson Arnold over and over and over again, and it be effective for them? And their defense is able to make plays. I don't know. I will say this, even in the rain, for as good as Auburn's defense has been, they saw one pretty good offense in week 1 against Baylor, and Baylor was able to put up yards on them. Baylor was able to throw it around, find some success. I don't have a good feel, but I know the vibes, oddly, are a whole lot better in Arkansas. I'm going to go with the Hogs to get the win. Number 4, Alabama at South Carolina. Christian, are your Tide walking into a trap?
It is very possible with it being on the road. I'm not even going to pick Alabama because, like, a bias, but South Carolina just has not looked like it. Like, definitely not what we thought they could be going into the season. I know they've had some injuries here or there. The defense, I'm going to be honest, I like their defense. To hold Vandy to 31, to lose these games to Oklahoma and LSU, only giving up 20, 24 points, whatever it is, that's pretty good defense. I want to know what's wrong with the offense and everything going on down there in Columbia, but they need a win. I'm going to take Alabama, but it wouldn't shock me if this is like a Vanderbilt type of game for Kalen DeBoer like it was last year. I mean, could they be caught napping a bit, you think?
This is completely unrelated, but I'm having a horrific year in fantasy football. I'm 2-5. And today, as I was setting my lineup, I've had issues at tight end because I have Brock Bowers, but he's been hurt and he's been out. Which, if he's healthy, it's like awesome. Brock Bowers. But also, Geno Smith is doing terrible at quarterback this year, so whatever. I had David Njoku, who's a pretty good option, but he's been hurt. I picked up Cade Otton from the Bucks, who is a solid tight end, and he's had better production the last few weeks. It's been okay. But I'm looking because I just haven't done a good job of going and adding pieces. And Aronde Gadsden for the Chargers has been killing it the past couple weeks. And I looked at it and I was like, well, I don't know if I want to go and just like do I ride with Auden one more week and just see what happens, like and just see how that goes. And instead, so I didn't pick him up. He was available on the waiver wire, and I just saw. I'm not watching the NFL game. I'm watching 1-6 South Alabama versus 1-6 Georgia State, because that, of course, is the most important football game of the night. But the stat tracker just showed Gadsden already has 3 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown, which would be 12 points already put up, which is probably more than Oden's going to give me. I don't know if he's against the Saints defense. He might have a huge day. So we'll see how that goes. I cannot believe I'm so mad at myself for not picking him up. And now I have to, my hopes are in a Bucs player torching the Saints now in order for that to happen, which also Baker can quit crying about. I'm going to get on you about this, talking about the Saints being dirty or whatever, when the Bucs are literally the ones who broke Jameis Winston's leg. Like, let's chill here talking about Baker doing his stupid chip on the shoulder BS. We're a 1-6 football team, and he's sitting out here talking about the Saints are talking about dirty play. Get over yourself. Oh, okay. Regardless,
Okay.
The Saints are losing this game. I mean, I'm well aware of this, but like Baker can shut up.
Can we get back on track though?
Yeah. Anyway, Bama. I mean, I think South Carolina defensively, it is interesting because South Carolina, their weakness is defending the run. Alabama's run game has been very inconsistent this year. South Carolina's pretty good against the pass. They also have good pass rushers. Bama's passing game is good, but Bama's offensive line can give up some pressure at times. I do wonder if maybe this is not the best game for the Bama offense. I don't trust South Carolina whatsoever. I don't trust the South Carolina offense at all. Alabama wins the game. It'll probably be ugly, but I think the Tide are able to handle it.
Yeah.
All right. Probably the game of the day within the SEC. Number 15, Missouri on the road at number 10, Vanderbilt. College game day in Nashville. Vanderbilt beating LSU in what was probably the biggest game played in that stadium in years. And yes, bigger than the Bama game last year, because you go into the Bama game last year, nobody knew Vanderbilt was going to win that game. You know, Bama was coming off the win over Georgia. It was kind of like just, all right, this is a typical Vanderbilt-Alabama game. Last week against LSU was the biggest game in so long in terms of hype. This one's even bigger because of that win. Do the Doors keep it rolling, or does Missouri kind of crush their dreams?
It's going to be a fun game, that's for sure. I like both offenses. It's you had a double overtime win last week. You had the loss to Bama. You're looking at Missouri. Interestingly enough, both teams lost to Alabama and then bounced back with close wins in the SEC. So, and they're both sitting with the same record: 2-1 in conference play, 6-1 overall on the year. Top 15 matchup you don't want to miss. I'm gonna go the Commodores here. I'm riding that Diego Pavia train. I just, outside of the Bama loss, I mean, the dudes look great. And the defense is pretty solid too. Now, I don't like that they gave up 35 to Utah State, but whatever. It's, I don't know, man. It really does intrigue me. I could be wrong here, but I'm gonna go with Vandy at home to get the victory. Am I? No. Okay. I changed my mind. I really want to go Missouri here. I really want to go Missouri. I'm a big believer in what they could do. I think they could go on the road here.
All right. You go with Missouri.
I'm going Mizzou.
I'm taking Vandy.
Okay.
I think Vanderbilt's run defense has been pretty good this year, and that's kind of the thing. Missouri, Ahmad Hardy's awesome, but in SEC play, Missouri's run game is sort of taking a bit of a hit. And when they don't have that run game, I know Bo Perbula was putting up the awesome numbers early in the year, to the point that there was a lot of, if Penn State had Bo Perbula, would they be undefeated right now? And James Franklin's job is saved over Drew Aller. Bo Perbula in SEC plays under 60% completions, 6.2 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns to 5 picks, and under 200 yards a game. In SEC games, he has been very mediocre, if not underwhelming, as a quarterback. They have to have the run game going. I think Vanderbilt can take a little bit of that away. And then on the other side of the ball, Missouri, for as good as they've been defensively, a lot of it is pass rush driven. Diego Pavia is a guy who can avoid those pressures and extend plays with his legs. Also, Missouri, if you look, both Alabama and Alabama and Auburn, if you take out the sacks and kind of adjust for that, both those teams were able to run it a little bit on Mizzou, especially Auburn. Like Auburn, if you do sack adjusted, had a big day running the football against Mizzou. So I think Vanderbilt's going to be able to find success on the ground, and I think they're going to be able to limit what Missouri can do offensively just enough to get the win. I'm going to take the Doors here to keep it rolling. Another ranked matchup. Oh, do you have something?
No, you're good.
Another ranked matchup in the SEC, number 3 A&M at number 20 LSU. The Aggies have not won in Death Valley since joining the SEC, but obviously this is an LSU team that has been very questionable this year. They do have the defense, which has been big for them, and this is a big test for A&M because of that. But which way do you go?
I'm going to go LSU. I'm not even going to hesitate. If A&M's going to lose a game this year, which I think that they will, and I just think this is the one to lose. Now, it could be next week with Missouri, and it might be rivalry weekend at Texas. I don't know. You got a couple different games to choose from where you want to take your loss. Aggies look amazing in a way. Did you watch that Arkansas game, though? I mean, 45-42. That, I don't know, man. I like where LSU's at least going into this game this week. 2.5-point spread does favor the Aggies, who are 7-0, ranked 3 in the nation. Yeah, I feel like the defense for LSU keeps them in this game. It'll be close. Plus, you got the home crowd energy at night. Brian Kelly gets it done. Give me LSU.
Brian Kelly takes another step towards getting fired. I'm taking Texas A&M. So, yeah, I get it. A&M's defense has not been very good this year, but they have seen 3 teams that are mediocre, if not bad, offensively between Auburn and SEC play, between Auburn, Mississippi State, and Florida. They gave up 10 to Auburn. They gave up 9 to Mississippi State. They gave up 17 to Florida. LSU's offense has been incredibly underwhelming this year. And I also think A&M is really good at rushing the passer. LSU's offensive line has another tackle down. They've already had issues with that this year. I think they'll be able to get pressure on Nussmeier and really limit what LSU is able to do offensively. The other side of the ball, yeah, LSU's defense is good. I think they're still without Whit Weeks. LSU last week without Weeks and also down one of their top defensive linemen, Vanderbilt ran all over them. And I think this is an A&M team with a better offensive line. Marcel Reed is, I don't think, a very good quarterback, but he's good enough and a good runner. They've got to, I know they're out without Le'Veon Moss, but Ruben Owens at running back is still really good. I think they're going to be able to run the football effectively on LSU. So I think this is a game where A&M sort of controls the line of scrimmage on both sides. And, yeah, it's Death Valley. But I saw Josh Pate made a comment about this week, and it's a very good point. For as much as people revere LSU and revere Death Valley as like this incredible atmosphere, and it is, like that place when it is at its best is better than anywhere else. But when LSU gets down and LSU gets out, that place gets quiet quick. And that's a place that'll empty out quick. Like they are very much if things are going well, yeah, we're going to make it hell for you to play here. But when things go poorly, they turn quickly. And I think A&M can turn things quickly. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Aggies. All right. Last SEC game we'll pick before Texas, Mississippi State. We'll go with number 17, Tennessee at Kentucky. Not going to spend a lot of time here because I think we're both going the same way. I'm taking the Vols. You doing the same?
You have to. Kentucky's terrible, man. I don't even need to explain myself, do I?
Yeah, no. I think the game could have been a little bit more interesting. I think the fact that Kentucky lost in the manner that they did last week, that kind of felt like the let's get one to sort of hang our hats on, and they missed it. I think even this being a pseudo rivalry game, at least in Kentucky's eyes, I think the Vols handle business. We'll go to a huge matchup for playoff implications in when it comes to the G5 spot. Number 18 USF just is putting up 1 million points on everybody. They're on the road at Memphis. Questions about whether or not Brendan Lewis, the quarterback for the Tigers, is going to be able to play. Memphis is better defensively this year than they've been in the past, so that is a good sign for them. You take.
No Bulls. Let's do it. Hometown team, man.
Yeah, you got to rep the Tampa team. And, yeah, I'm with you as well. USF is a wagon. Alex Golish is continuing. I mean, look, both these coaches could have better jobs next year. Silverfield at Memphis is another name getting a lot of pull. But I think you're going to see Golish at a bigger time program next season, and I think they're going to be the playoff representative this year. That team is just hard to pick against. That offense is just about unstoppable right now. Mm-hmm. Number 23, Illinois on the road at Washington. Important game in the Big Ten if both these teams want to keep their playoff hopes alive at this point. I'll be honest, I don't know either of these teams too particularly well other than just a few players and who the coaches are. I'll just go ahead and make my pick. I'm going to blindly take the Huskies playing at home.
I'm going to take them too. Like you said, now both are 5-2. Illinois is ranked, but when I think one of their losses was Indiana, obviously, because Indiana's beat pretty much everybody. But yeah, throw the dart at Washington. Let's roll with it. I mean, can Illinois win this game on the road? Yeah. Are they? I don't know. I mean, this is a coin flip game, but I'll roll with you and the Huskies here.
Yeah, true. And frankly, I'm glad we're going the same direction. I don't want to lose a game on you here where I just didn't have any kind of a good feeling. So we've already had a few differences in this one, so we'll see how it plays out the rest of the way. In the Big 12, number 11, BYU at Iowa State. The Cougars have been rolling, continue finding ways to get it done. Iowa State, injuries starting to hurt them a little bit and just not quite this team they looked like at the beginning of the year. Who are you taking?
You said it was Iowa State and BYU?
BYU at Iowa State.
At Iowa State. Okay. I'm going to go Iowa State here. BYU's look good. I'm not taking anything away from them. Love the run game. Love the quarterback. They had the offseason drama with Retzlaff. He's gone. Whatever. Cool. Move on. They've looked pretty darn good. But, I mean, is there a chance? Like, do we really expect them to win out? I mean, if it's not this game, it's definitely the next one at Texas Tech. Outside of that, what else do they have to lose? TCU? Probably not. Cincinnati? Maybe. And then UCF. So, but I'm feeling Iowa State this week. I got to.
I'll go with the Cougs. I definitely don't like taking a team on the road in the Big 12, especially with I think the Cyclones are favored in this game. But at the same time, and shout out to Cover 3 Pod, they did a great job breaking this one down. I know there's some key injuries for Iowa State defensively, and that against teams that have been sort of similar to what BYU has done, they've struggled. So, yeah, I'm going to take BYU to be able to go and get the win. But I agree. They're not going to go undefeated. They will take a loss somewhere, if not two. That does make this tricky because sometimes these games in the Big 12, we see how it goes. But I'll lead with the Cougars for now. Last but not least, the game that ultimately those of you who tuned in are here to hear about. Number 22, Texas in Starkville. Obviously, we talked about the Longhorns in the last episode. We talked more about Mississippi State's issues, but looked a little bit at what the team has been. We looked at the keys of victory earlier in the episode, so if you missed that, go back and check that out. Look, I think it's going to be a low-scoring competitive game. At least I think it is. I'll see if Ballard feels differently because we'll go to his pick first here. But it's a big opportunity for Mississippi State. This is kind of another one where it's like, okay, can you get the win and make up for some of the wrongs, right the wrongs that you had from last week against Florida, get that momentum back, snap the longest conference losing streak in the country, which is at 15 straight games, and finally get some momentum to set yourself up going into November. Like, hey, we need one win to go to a bowl game. Can you make that happen against a Texas team that had all the hype in the world to enter the season, but ultimately, because of their offense, has been a disaster? So you got a chance, but you got to play well against a good defense. Christian, what is your pick and what is your score prediction?
I got a question.
Sure.
Texas last week played Kentucky on the road. And I know it's tough in the SEC. I get it. Kentucky, we just got through talking about a little bit. Not a very good team. It was 16-13. But how in the world do you take that to overtime? What are you doing? I'm gonna take the Bulldogs here, man. They got to get an SEC win, like you said. They need 2 wins to even make a bowl game. Give me the Bulldogs, man. At home, got some momentum. in terms of, I mean, look, you played it close with Florida. You should have won that game. You probably had a case shoulda, woulda, coulda won against Tennessee. Texas A&M, great team, 31-9. Don't like the score, but I feel like that was a game where you still fought pretty hard, in terms of off paper. But I'm gonna roll with the Bulldogs here. Score prediction?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lock it in. I'm gonna go 28 to 23. 28-23.
I've got Texas.
Texas?
Yeah. So, look, ultimately, I get it. The vibes are bad around the Longhorns. I also think that the fact that the vibes are so bad is a good chance that they don't right the ship, but don't come out looking quite as poor as they did against Kentucky. Even though I think Mississippi State is a better team than Kentucky, but I think Texas will probably come out playing a little bit better in this one. Look, ultimately, it comes down to the fact that I don't trust State's offense. I do not trust their ability to not get in their own way. I don't trust their ability to finish drives in the end zone. I don't trust their ability to protect Blake Shapen and for Shapen to not make mistakes when he is not protected. Texas has a big-time pass rush. We really didn't hit on that as much as we probably should have. When you look at the guys like Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, Brad Spence, what those guys have been able to do from a pass rush standpoint, getting after quarterbacks. Like, this is a really, really good group. State's tackles have had struggled so much in terms of protecting. I think Shapen's going to be under pressure a lot. And when Blake Shapen is under pressure, it very rarely turns into a positive play for Mississippi State. It is either a sack or a throw that doesn't need to be there. I think State's going to have a chance for some stuff to open up downfield, but I don't know if they're going to have time to hit it. I think State will probably be able to run the football a little bit, but again, I don't know if without Fluff Bothwell, because I don't think he's going to play. It was questionable, and even if he is able to play, is he able to go full go? In terms of finishing drives, I just think those are going to be concerns for me. And then on the other side of the ball, I think Texas will be able to figure out. I don't think they're going to have a big day offensively. I think they'll be able to run it though a little bit, and will make just enough plays to get it done. And it may be, Trey was talking about the punt return stuff. Maybe it's a pick six or something. I think those could be plays that change the game for Texas, and they're able to get the win. And I have State still searching for a conference win. I can see the Bulldogs getting it done. This is kind of one of those deals, though. I think I'm at the point. I think State will win an SEC game this year. I think somewhere along the way they will manage to get one. I don't think they are an 0-8 team. And even with the schedule as difficult as it is, all of these teams have flaws. The odds to me are in their favor that they'll find one. And frankly, this is the best chance, but they could win some of these other games. I think Mississippi State is destined to be 5-6 going into the Egg Bowl. I think that's just going to be a thing. State's going to be 5-6. Ole Miss is going to be 9-2. And it's okay, Ole Miss wins, they're going to the playoff. Mississippi State wins, they're going to a bowl game. And it's going to be just as stressful a Saturday as we've had in it's a Friday, but as stressful an Egg Bowl for both sides as there's been in many, many years. So I think State will find a win somewhere, because I think that the odds are just they're going to find a way to be 5-6 going into that game. But I'm not going to predict it to happen. Unless something changes over these next few games that lead me to believe State's going to get a win elsewhere, I don't think I'm predicting Mississippi State to win a conference game until they show me they can win a conference game. Cut and dry.
Right.
That's where I'm at right now. So, yeah, I got Texas getting the win. We'll see if the Bulldogs can get off the mat and find a way to get it done. That'll be it for us tonight. Appreciate those of you who tuned in or were interacting. Shout out to Sven for joining the chat. Ton of fun. We want to be able to keep doing this moving forward. So if we have other people who are interested in getting involved and joining the show, we'd love to have you. Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central. That's kind of the set time for this. I will be back post-game. State playing in that stupid SEC Network afternoon slot like they do literally every week for the past 2 seasons. That's just what Mississippi State is set. That is the Mississippi State kickoff time now. So sometime Saturday evening, I'll be back for the post-game show, reacting to whatever happens here. And then we will be back together on Monday evening, to discuss Mississippi State, and we'll have more thoughts, whatever happened against Texas, and then take a look ahead to Arkansas. Thanks again to those of you who have listened to the show, those of you listening now, post-stream. If you could, give us a like on the video. If you've not already subscribed, please do turn that notification bell on so you do know when we do go live. And share us around. Tell your friends about us. Thanks to everybody listening. As always, swing your sword. Hail State.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.